In this video, we are going to talk about one of the most common data sets in R, which is iris data. And I'm sure that you heard about it millions of times, but we will use it just as a quick warm-up in R. So our data set is iris. Okay, now I know which data sets we are going to use. Let's write a title first. And here's our iris data set. And we are going to save our file and somewhere. Yes. Okie dokie. Now we can see the first 6 lines of our data sets. You will see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 variables. And when you want to learn more about the data set, you can just add question mark, and R is going to give you the description and how what is happening in these data sets. Maybe you may see that for each spaces you have 50 flowers, and as you may expect that since you have 3 spaces in here, your dimension for your data set is going to be 150. And maybe you can see more information in here and just a small example. And please try to use the source when you are using these data sets, okay? So here is our data sets, and now we want to see the class of iris, and it's a data frame. And also you may want to see some variables in here. Let's see, I want to see the sepal length, the class of sepal length, and it's a numeric variable. And if you want to see an overall information about your data set, you can use structure, I mean the str command, and then str iris. And now you will see that we have 5 variables in here. 4 of them are numerical variables, you can see in here, and 1 of them is a factor with 3 levels, okay? And also there is one more helpful comment, which is summary, and this can be the one of the first comments you may want to use with your data sets and when you write summary iris. And you will see that you can see some detailed information about your variables in here, like minimum values, median, mean values for all of them. And also you see the frequencies for your factors, okay? And you can notice that you have a balanced data sets in here. What else we can use? And so you may always choose your variables by using $signs. We already used in here. When you just write iris and $sign, R will be popped up all your variables in here. You can just use like petal length, one of them for example, and R is going to report all of them for you guys, okay? And we will move to indexing, and this is really important for us to use in R, very useful. If you want to index your data sets, and you can just use these brackets in here, okay? And if you want to choose your rows, you can write the number, the place of the rows, like the first one, and just add comma and leave the rest of them as blank, okay? So when you run, you will see the first line of your data sets. If you want to choose the first column instead of the first row, you can just blank the first part and just add comma and write the number of the column you want to see, okay? And here is iris 1. And these indexings are really useful for us, and we can use them in different ways. For example, you may want to choose your variables by using their names instead of the place in here. And here is what I have this iris data set, I add comma, and I'm going to use the name like species, one of the names in my data sets. And here is your species in your data sets in here. We have Setosa, versicolor, and Virginia. Okay, these are the three ways that you can index your data sets. And also you may want to see, by using these spaces, maybe you may want to see the table. And here is my table for my iris and species. And you see R is going to give you the number of observations in one of the factors, and the other one and the third one in here. Okay, and you can always use some logical indexing. Okay, you may want to use some logical indexing in here. Let's give it a name first, and I'm going to generate an index in here. And by using my iris data, I want to choose the variable petal length in here, the name of one of my variables. And I want to choose the ones which are greater than, let's say, 1.5. Okay, sorry, 5.5 in here. When I choose them, when you just look at for this new variable in here, you will see the corresponding trues and falses. Now we want to take these guys. Okay, we want to get them. I mean, now this is giving you the results as true and false. And if you want to get the corresponding values in there, you can do one more step in here, iris, and I want to use this index. In here, I want to choose the true ones. And when you write this, and R is going to give you the lines which are true in this index in here. Now you have all the observations which is petal length is greater than 5.5. You will notice that all of them are greater than 5.5 in here. Okay, and so we already use summary function in here, but we can always get the summary statistics in here. Let's get some summary statistics related to our data sets. And here is, let's say you can use mean iris data, and I want to use the sepal length, and here is the mean for that. Or you can use standard deviation ST function in here for your sepal length. Okay, we get them. And also you can generate some functions, okay, to get both of them at the same time. Let's say I want to find mean and standard deviation at the same time. So let's write a function. First of all, we should give a name to it. Let's say mean and ST, standard deviation. Okay, so I should start with a function. So function of x. Let's start with a curly brackets in here. I will combine. Let's say I have my mean, and I'm going to use mean of x in here, and I have std. These are just the names of my functions in here, and I'm going to use stx, and I should run this part. R know my function. Now when I write it, you will see R knows my function in here. And now I can use this function for one of my variables. Let's say I have mean, sorry guys, mean and std function. Now I should give an x. You see that part? I have one input in here, so R is asking for this guy, and I'm going to give iris sepal length in here. As a result, R is going to give me mean and STD, okay? So if I want to get these values for each of my species levels in here, I can always combine my function with aggregate, and let's see how it is going to work. Stats, and I will aggregate my sepal length, let's say, and here is okay. Here is I'm going to add spaces in here, and my data is iris, and my function in here is mean and std. Okay, so I don't need this one. And here is how I'm going to aggregate my function for spaces. Okay, and I run this part, and when I see that, when I run and when I check out the results of my stats, you will see that I have all my spaces, and for each of them it is just calculating the mean and standard deviation values and just save them in here. I think it's really useful. Okay, there is one last thing maybe we should remember about R, that R is really powerful in visualization. Let's see what can be used, but we are going to use very basic functions now. And maybe we can use plot function. This is one of the basic one. I want to just see iris sepal length again, and let's see as color. I want to get my spaces for, so I will color my plot depending on the spaces in here, and let's see where can I find them. They are in spaces. Okay, and I want to give a name to my YLab, and this is, what was that? Sepal length. Here is the name of my y-axis, and here is my plot. Here's my plot. When I run this guy, you will see in my plot we have sepal length, and for each spaces in here. Okay, or you can also add some legend to where, like, let's say my top left is empty. I want to add it in there. Here is my top left, and here is my legend. It's going to use the levels of my iris dataset spaces. Okay, and just give some more options in there, 1, 2, 3. And here is my legend, and it's just getting all levels in my iris data sets and getting the spaces, Setosa, Verscaler, and Virginia in here. But of course, for factors, this scatter plot may not be the best choice. Generally, we use box plots for this kind of data sets. Let's see, I think it's going to be much easier. We can just write box plot and just write, sorry guys, sepal length in here versus what? Versus spaces. And for levels, generally it's better to use box plots in here. And you should give the name of your data sets. In here, you may see that we have 3 different kinds of spaces. And for Setosa, the median values is smaller than the other one. And for Virginia, we have 1 outlier in here. And the median is the highest for Virginia spaces in here, and Verscaler is in the middle of them. Maybe it's much better to see these levels of factors versus a numeric value in a box plot rather than a scatter plot in here. Okay, and it's important to use the appropriate plot types for your data sets. And this is all I wanted to say about iris data sets.